Hello all, today we are going to discuss about loss and grief. I am Mrs. Golden, working as tutor in Triple M College of Nursing. So the objective is at the end of the class we will be able to define grief, what are the types of loss, what are the types of grief, manifestations of grief, enlist the physical sensations of grief, what are the factors influencing loss and grief, Kubler-Ross theory, 6 hours of mourning, and the emotional categories and the dying patient's bill of rights. So definition, grief is the emotional response or reaction to a loss in a person's life. The loss can refer to a death. It can also refer to the loss of a physical or cognitive abilities or the loss of something that was routine to the person's life such as the job. Types of loss. First one is actual loss. In actual loss, it is a loss of a person or an object that was present can no longer can be felt, heard, known, or experienced by the individual. Perceived loss. In perceived loss, it is uniquely defined by the grieving patient. It may be less obvious to the others. Example, the loss of prestige. In perceived losses, it is easily overlooked or misunderstood, but the process of grief follows the same sequencing and progression as actual losses. Next one is maturational loss. It includes any change in the development process that is normally expected during the lifetime. For example, feeling of a loss as a child is going to the school. Types of grief responses. There are 6 types of grief responses: normal grief, anticipatory grief, complicated grief, disenfranchised grief, chronic grief, cumulative grief. So grief can be manifested by following symptoms or signs, that is the feelings, numbness or shock, anger, guilt, anxiety and cognitions. Physical sensations, that is hollowness in the pit of the stomach, can be experienced, tightness in the chest and the throat, oversensitivity to noise, breathlessness, lack of energy, dry mouth, muscular weakness, and behaviors. So there are many factors influencing the loss of grief. First one is human development. In person of different ages and stages of development, they display different and unique symptoms of grief. Examples, toddlers are unable to understand the loss or death of any individual, but they can feel anxiety over the loss of objects and separation from parents. Second one is psychosocial perspectives of loss and grief. Loss and death are life experiences that each person faces individually. Death is an overwhelming experience that affects everyone that is involved in the loss situation or any death of an individual. Next one is socioeconomic status. In socioeconomic status, it influences the person's ability to obtain options. Generally, an individual can feel a great burden from the loss when there is any lack of financial, educational, or occupational resources. Personal relationships. In personal relationships, any loss of a loved one, the quality and meaning of the relationship are very critical in understanding the person grief experience. Next one is nature of loss. A sudden and an unexpected death, which is more difficult for the family to accept, can come under the nature of the loss. This sudden or unexpected death can be followed due to any long-term or chronic disease. Next one is culture and ethnicity factor. In culture and ethnicity, interpretation of loss and the expansion of grief arises due to the cultural background and family practices. So culture affects some patients and their support systems or the families who are responding to the loss. Spiritual belief. So it is a factor where the spirituality significantly influences the ability to cope with the loss. So loss can sometimes cause internal conflicts about spiritual values and the meaning of life. So Kubler-Ross theory. In Kubler-Ross theory, we can say it as a synonym like DABDA. That is, D stands for denial, A stands for anger, B stands for bargaining, and the next D stands for depression, and A stands for acceptance. That is DABDA. So in denial, it is a first reaction. It is a common defense mechanism to protect oneself from the hardship of considering an upsetting reality. Anger. Anger is commonly experienced and expressed by the individual due to any reality of terminal illness. So when the individual recognizes that denial cannot continue, they become very frustrated, anger, and they especially proximate at the individuals. So next one is bargaining. It is a third stage which involves the hope that the individual can avoid a cause of grief. Usually, the negotiation of an extended life is made in exchange for a reformed lifestyle. That is bargaining. They start or begin to bargain and they cannot be accept the loss. Next one is depression. It is perhaps the most immediately understandable Kubler-Ross theory stage. In this, the patient experience with the unsurprising symptoms like sadness, fatigue, and anhedonia. That is only depression. Next one is acceptance. It recognizes the ability and the reality of a difficult diagnosis while no longer it can protest or struggling against it. That is, even though after protesting or struggling for many times, we cannot do anything. So at that time, at the final stage, the patient or the individual began to accept the loss. So there are 6 R's of mourning: recognize and accept the reality of the loss, react to the separation, recollect and re-experience, relinquish old attachments, readjust, and the reinvest. So there are 3 phases under loss and grief. First one is avoidance phase, next one is confrontation phase, the last one is accommodation phase. First one is avoidance phase. In avoidance phase, the person tries to avoid the reality. In avoidance phase, one task recognizes the loss. This is the very early part of the mourning where we must accept the reality of the loss. Second one is confrontation phase. In confrontation phase, it consists of dealing with the grief and finding ways where we can express the complex set of emotions we feel. Next one is accommodation phase. The phase features of the final 2 R's of the Randos model. In this phase, we begin to find meaning for both loss and the life again. But it doesn't mean we won't experience some of the other R's again. We can experience like recollection or reaction to the loss, but we do begin to move against or towards the moments of happiness again. Dying patient's Bill of Rights. It can be treated as a living human being until death. We must maintain a sense of hopefulness, however changing its focus may be. We must be cared for by those who can maintain a sense of hopefulness, however changing this might be. Express feelings and emotions about approaching death in their own way. Participate in decisions concerning their care. Expect continuing medical and nursing attention even though cure goals must be changed to the comfort goals. Not die alone, be free of pain. We must not be deceived. Thank you.